because now you want to take notes on this. I think one of the most important business etiquette, networking, skills, if there was one, is your ability to remember someone's name.
Yes.
Because how are you going to show somebody you're going to care for their business, their future, their finances, their health, whatever it is you have to offer them, if you don't care enough just to remember them?
Yes.
Because what's the message we send to somebody when we ask them for their name again 2 or 3 times?
You're not important.
You're not important, right? And that doesn't matter what you say after that. It's null and void, right? And so people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And here's the thing, and Maya Angelou said it beautifully, people won't remember what you say, they won't remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that's going back to the emotion again, right? And so that caring is everything. Nothing sells like caring. The truth is, you could always remember that name.
Okay.
And that's, so I'm calling people who are watching this on their BS.
Yes.
That when you say you're not good at remembering names, that's not true. You just remembered somebody's name. Why? What's the difference? You're motivated. So the M in Maxed Out, the M stands for motivation.
Motivated.
And I would say, how do you do it? Ask yourself questions. You could elevate your level of motivation. You could ask yourself, what's my level of motivation to remember something, or to learn this, or to remember this name? You could say 0 to 10, give it a number, 5. Well, and here's this mind hack. How do I thought experiment, how do I make it turn it from a 5 to a 7?
Okay.
What do I need to think about differently? Like how that person's gonna feel, or the business I could create for them, or just learning these skills better, right? Tony says what you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public, right? Yes. And so maybe it's just a skill that you're practicing. So motivation. I remember I was doing a training in Silicon Valley, and after I was done, somebody comes up to me. It was Bill Gates. And I asked him, if you could have any one superpower, what would it be? He was like, Jim, the ability to read faster. And Warren Buffett was like, I've wasted probably 10 years of my life reading slowly. And that's why reading and speed reading is so important, because people spend about 4 hours processing information a day. You think about all the emails and the business plans and the books and all the stuff you have to process.
Yes.
If you could just double your reading speed and go from 4 hours to 2 hours, you save 2 hours a day. Whoa. What's 2 hours a day over the course of a year? Actually, let's say you just save 1 hour a day. That's 365 hours a year.
Incredible.
That's how many 40-hour work weeks? 9. 2 months of productivity. More than 2 months of productivity is saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading. So that's why we do so much. For people like you watching this, I know a lot of people are entrepreneurs. They have teams. The biggest line item, right, is human capital.
Yes,
right, payroll.
for sure.
But if they're reading 4 or 5 hours a day, that means half of their salary is being paid to read. Right, so if someone's getting paid $80,000, $40,000 just to read. That's why we train at Nike and Google and General Electric and all these individuals, because that's the faster you could raise the collective intelligence of your team, the more that they could be competitive, right?
Yes.
And so going back to this, the M is motivation. So I would always say, if you want to learn something new, check in with your motivation, because here's the thing: all learning is state dependent. All learning is state dependent. This is the thing: information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. We know that.
Okay.
And we know this because ultimately the expert's not always the person on the podcast or on stage. You are your own expert. So genius leaves clues. Genius leaves clues all the time. So when somebody's exceptional in some area, there's a method behind the magic, including for your own self. So you don't remember all names, but you certainly don't forget all names. Now go and deconstruct that, decode that. Usually the names you remember are names you're motivated to. You're somebody that is attracted to somebody that could be good for their business, right? So there's the emotion there. So emotion tied to information becomes a long-term memory. Because here's the thing, is there like a song or fragrance or food that could take you back to when you were a kid?
Absolutely.
Because information tied with that emotion becomes a long-term memory. But here's the thing, back in school, what was the primary emotion we felt? Boredom, right? Half the room is bored, the other half is confused. But on a scale of 0 to 10, what's boredom? 0. Information times emotion. If the emotion is 0, what's anything times 0?
0.
And you wonder why you forgot the presidents, the capitals, the periodic table, all the things we learned in school, because the emotion level was very weak.
Wow.
Right? That's why entertainment is so powerful, because education, maybe empowerment is here, entertainment is way up here because of that emotion. But when you can infuse emotion into the learning process, and part of that is human motivation. Because I remember the second question, I was talking to Bill Gates about he's like, reading is what I'd like to be better at. I'm like, I totally could help you with that, because leaders are readers, clearly. And on top of that, I was like, we were talking about the future education, and I was talking about accelerated learning, and he was talking about tools and technology, and a bunch of crowd was building, and they said, what's missing? You have the tools, you have the theory, and we came to the same exact conclusion: motivation.
Motivation.
Right? Understanding human motivation. Why can somebody learn something, not apply it?
Yeah.
To be able to get that benefit, to be able to execute that. And I have a theory on that we could talk about.
Okay.
Why people procrastinate, why they put things off. But going back to the emotional level, tap into the second H, which is your heart.
Okay.
Now, the A, what I would say in Max Out, as people are going through this, just a simple acronym. The A, I would say, is accountability. Okay. Accountability. And this is, again, we haven't gone into the technique, but just owning it.
Okay.
Because most people are not responsible. They feel like, you know why? It's because we were trained that way. I get to work with Elon Musk, and I do trainings for him and SpaceX, the rocket science, a huge amount of information to be able to process and be able to focus and so on, and be able to retain and apply. And he's building a world of electric cars with Tesla. He's building electric cars and spaceships going to Mars, right? But the vehicle of choice for education is like a horse and buggy. How people learn is like a horse and carriage, and you wonder why you're falling behind. Right. And here's why. We all grew up with the 20th century education. 20th century education prepares for a 20th century world. And at the turn of the century, it was working in farms and factories. Yeah. And here's the thing, it trained us just to consume information. A teacher would lecture and you would just consume information.
Yes.
But the human brain does not learn through consumption, it learns through creation. Isn't it interesting that school would teach you what to learn, math, history, science, but important subjects basically, but not how to learn. What were the classes on creativity, imagination, strategy, problem solving, entrepreneurship, critical thinking, right? Where was the classes on listening, on emotional intelligence? Where were the classes on speed reading? Where were the classes on remembering, right? Socrates says learning is remembering. Because nobody, when I was at Google, they're like, Jim, but we have a search engine. Why do we need to retain all this information? Here's the reason, is because, I'll give you a couple of reasons. Number one, your brain is like a muscle. It's use it or lose it. But people are suffering from digital dementia. This is the new term in healthcare.
Digital dementia.
Digital dementia, where we're so dependent on our smart devices. It keeps our to-dos. It does simple math for us. I went to dinner the other night, and it was 10 of us, literally 10 of us. The waiter comes with the check, and half of the 10 people pulled out their phones to divide the check by 10.
Yes.
And if people are listening to this, they don't understand why that's a problem, then that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Right? Because all you have to do is just move it, the decimal just one over. But we've been so dependent on it. So digital dementia is saying we're so dependent on technology that we're not using this technology anymore. That's the paradox. If you just do the easy things in life, you procrastinate, you put things off, right? Then life is hard. But if you do the hard things in life, life becomes easy.
Wow, so good.
And because you're building those muscles. And what I'm suggesting is mental fitness is as important as mental intelligence. The X is exercise. Okay. Exercise. And here's the thing, physical exercise, good for your brain. Okay. We know this across the board.
Physical exercise, good for the brain.
But so people who are more mentally, who work out, they're more mentally fit, right? They do better on focus, mental acuity, memory tests. They create, when you exercise, you create brain-derived neurotropic factors, which is like B, D, and F, fertilizer for the brain, which promotes neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, new brain cells, new connective. People say when they listen to your show, if they're doing on an elliptical, something rhythmic, or they're going for a walk, they'll retain it better.
Wow.
Right? Which is so powerful just in being creative, going for walks. Like Steve Jobs, all his meetings were walking meetings, right? Because that's when all the creativity is coming out. So movement, because we live in such a sedentary environment.
Is that what you mean by learning is state-driven too?
Exactly, because movement changes your state. Your physiology affects your psychology. And we live in a culture where sitting is the new smoking. We've all heard this, and we're not moving. The primary reason why you have a brain is to control your movement. People don't realize that. Number one reason you have a brain. And as your body moves, your brain grooves. As your body moves, your brain grooves. Even the episode I did on morning routine, the 11 things I do every single morning, my routine is basically focused around jump-starting your brain. The science of momentum.
Can we say one thing about that where we both agree, and you know the reasons better than I? We're both big. Don't check your phone for a window of time. I know we're going to sidetrack here, but this is a road worth going down just for 30 seconds. Tell them what you think about that when they wake up.
And I know you're an advocate for this also, that if you want to win the day, you got to win that first half an hour, hour of the day, right? But the worst thing you could do, everybody should, has their to-do list. You should have a not to-do list. And the top thing, that's what successful people do. Because that's the thing, as you become more successful, there's this opportunity stress, right? You get more and more invitations to do more and more things. So you have to say no to good, so you can say yes to great. And what helps is having a not to-do list. And on top of the not to-do list, I would suggest don't touch your phone the first half an hour or an hour of the day, and the last half an hour or an hour of the day. Why? Because when you wake up first thing in the morning, from a brain reason, you're in this alpha theta state. You're extremely suggestible. That's when you're most creative, right? And you're incredibly suggestible. And if you pick up your phone, you're rewiring your brain for a number of things. Number one, you're training it for distraction. Every dopamine, like every like, share, comment, cat video, gives you a dopamine flood, and you wonder why you can't focus because you're trained to be distracted. Number two, by the way, on my show I had Dr. BJ Fogg, and he runs the Influence Persuasion Lab in Stanford University. And one of his students co-founded Instagram. The average person, I read recently, the average person opens up Instagram 150 times a day. So it's addictive, right? And if you're picking up, here's the thing I have with technology. When you pick it up out of habit, like not for purpose, but just out of habit, technology is a tool you're supposed to use,
It's
right?
using you.
Like exactly. And when technology is using you, who becomes the tool?
Wow.
Right?
That's so true, brother.
We become the tool.
Yeah.
Number one, you don't pick up your phone first thing, it trains you to be distracted. Number two, when you're in that pressural state, is what you talk about. It trains you to be reactive.
Correct.
It trains you to be reactive. All of a sudden, you get one email, voicemail message, it ruins your day, and we've all had that. It just, you're fighting fires and you're on the defense. How can you build an incredible day with vision and leadership if you're just reacting? A lot of people say, I have a horrible memory, and they blame their retention. It's not your retention, it's your attention. I got the story I tell is
come on, that was
the
great.
second time I got to meet President Bill Clinton, and regardless of people's political ideology, everyone would agree he's got a lot of charisma. He's a great connector, a great communicator.
Absolutely.
What people don't know, he's got an incredible memory. Incredible memory. The first time I met him was very, very brief, but the second time he remembered my name, and I was like, okay. He was fed that by security. And then he remembered our last conversation. I was like, nobody was there. He definitely remembers this. And I was like, I'm the memory guy. How do you do this? What memory technique are you using? Because I believe genius leaves clues. And he tells me these stories about his grandfather in Arkansas in the living room, telling the grandkids all these stories, but he would do something different. Afterwards, he would quiz every single one of them to see if they're really paying attention. And I was like, wow, that's really, he went deep in that rabbit hole. And I would notice when he was explaining this to me, we're at a fundraiser, it's 2,000 people, and I was sitting right next to him at dinner. And it was like me, Forrest Whitaker, who won the Academy Award, Richard Branson, Ashton Kutcher, Ashton Kutcher's twin brother. I put this on Facebook.
I've seen that.
It's crazy.
Pictures,
But I was like this, when he's talking to me, he's like, there's a lot more important people in that room, certainly at that table, but I feel like I'm the only one, Ed. And this is a quality that you have. I can feel this because I believe, you go to events, you were talking about remembering names, and they're looking over your shoulder. And who else is important in this room? And and everyone feels, especially women, they feel like when your attention goes somewhere else, they know it right away. Or if it's not being distracted outside, they're not paying attention because what are they doing? They're not listening. They're waiting for their turn to speak, or they're thinking how they're going to respond. Right? Another habit of highly effective people: seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people, they want to be understood, and they're thinking about all that, and they're not
so powerful.
And they're not interested. They're just trying to be interesting.
Oh my gosh. They're trying to be interesting. They're not interested. That's powerful. Let's just slow that down a little bit. The people whose company I enjoy the most, who are some of the most influential people I've ever met, have that exact skill set that you just described. They're less interested in being interesting, and they are more interested in you. That is 100,000% true. But I think probably, one of the things that I think most people that are listening to this, they're trying to change things, whether that be a habit or change their life in general. And you're an expert at this. If someone said I always do this, they got 2 minutes with Jim Kwik. They ran into you at your Starbucks and you were as busy as you are, you said, I'll give you 2 minutes. And they could ask you something. I think the vast majority of the people would say, I want to change something in my life, whether that be a habit or the external results in my life. I want to create a change. What would you say to that person? Where do they begin? What would be a step they could take? What would be a thought they would have in order to create change?
So the obvious thing to say is lifelong learning. Commit yourself to lifelong learning, but that would be preaching to the choir. Because if someone's watching this right now or listening to this, they are exceptional, and I applaud anyone who's made it all the way to the end. What I would say is, self-love is not selfish. I feel like the biggest challenge people have in life is this fear that they're not enough. And I believe that's what holds us back. And people talk about themselves in relationships, and I think we grow a lot in our intimate relationships because they're a mirror to us. And I also feel like you have to fall in love again with the person in the mirror who has been through so much, but is still standing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And when's the last time, learning and love, I always wish people, this year and their days be full of lots of life, lots of love, lots of laughter, and lots of learning. But I think they go hand in hand. And self-love, it's kind of, I don't want to, people could put it into a hold hands and sing kumbaya. But I'm saying do the things that you would do for yourself. Because I feel like we're only happy when two things happen. This is my advice. Number one, you need the curiosity to know yourself. Right? Because that's self-awareness. That's why we meditate, that's why we journal, that's why we listen to things. It's self-reflection. We have intimate relationships. We build businesses because they put us through tests and shows us who we really are. So have the curiosity to know yourself. But once you know yourself, you need the courage to be yourself.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's a different game.
Totally different game.
And a lot of us, when we're looking back again, we don't want to have those regrets.
Yes.
And the expectations of other people. And that's where I think people they limit themselves. So I would say my advice to somebody right now is to make sure you dedicate time every single day to self-care, and really spend the time to not only know yourself, but give yourself permission to really be yourself. Because I feel like everyone makes SMART goals, right? They're specific and they're measurable and they're action oriented and they're realistic and they're time bound. And I'm all for that in setting goals. But also make them heart goals. Remember I talked about the power of the heart?
Yes.
Make them H, healthy. In every area of your life, make sure that they're healthy in the ecology of your life. I would also say E, make them enduring. Make them enduring so as we go through hard times, which invariably will, in business and in life and relationships and health, make sure that they're inspiring enough to be able to get you through those hard times. The A is make them alluring. Alluring mean they pull you, right? They're so attractive, they just get you out of bed, they're alluring. The R is relevant. Meaning you want to make them relevant because a lot of people set goals, but are they solving a personal problem for you? Are they really relevant to your particular values in life and in relationships and business? And finally, the T, I think it's the most important one. When you're setting goals, make them your truth. Because so many people are setting goals and a vision that's not really theirs. They picked it up from their parents. They're doctors because their parents were doctors, or they're picking up from the Joneses, or something outside. Know your truth and live from there.
Man, I didn't expect that to be your answer, and that was a wonderful, beautiful answer. I knew it would be incredible, but you went down a road there that's very interesting to me. I got to tell you, today was just so exceeded my expectations, and my expectations were up here for today. So this is one of the few people that have been on the show, you guys, just so you know, that I had to pursue pretty hard. Not that he didn't want to do it, but he's a difficult man to get with. And so I'm so grateful that I continued to chase you, because I personally got so much out of today's program. And so thank you so much, Jim, for being here today. I'm very, very grateful to you, and I'm really excited about our new friendship too.
This has been, I have goosebumps. I call them truth bumps.
Yes.
This is something I've always looked forward to, and the timing was really right. I applaud you for the cape that you wear, because you're not just superhuman. Everyone knows you're superhuman in business and physically and in relation to everything that you do, but you're also a superhuman.
Oh, thank you, brother.
And that really is, that I feel like really matters.
Okay. Coming from you, that means a whole bunch.
I mean, I believe our lives are like an egg. That if an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. But if it's broken by an inside force, life begins. Ooh, and all great things begin on the inside.